there is a story out there about Rose Montoya, which, do you guys even know who Rose Montoya is? I didn't. I had no idea who Rose Montoya is, but she is a trans woman who is also very beautiful and is a model. And Rose Montoya went to the White House for a Pride event and did something very dumb. She decided to flash her boobies at the White House. And, of course, all of the MAGA chuds are losing their fucking minds over it. Because one thing you got to remember about conservatives, folks, is that they're all... Like, the one thing that conservatives have in common is that they're all sexually repressed. Every single one of them. Right? And it doesn't matter what kind of conservative you're talking about. You're talking about a fiscal conservative, if you're talking about a religious fundamentalist, if you're talking about an alt-right fucking Nazi piece of shit, or somebody like, you know, like that. The one thing that all conservatives have in common is that they're sexually repressed, and they can't stand it when other people who are not sexually repressed like to have a good time. So, here's some footage of this, right? Caught on camera. Let's go ahead and... I don't know if I can actually show all of this here, but I'm just going to kind of... What we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We're going to make it really small. Right? But this is the event.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
Right.
Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Year.
This is... And here's the thing, right? This is actually on YouTube. So maybe I should be able to see it. Right? I mean... I don't know. Maybe I'll skip the part where the actual boobs come out because, like, you know, you can look that up for yourself.
Transgender children.
But here's the event.
You are heard.
You belong.
You're understood.
Right.
You are loved.
And you belong.
That's a good message, right? You know. Good message, good message. Let's continue on.
Some of the bravest and most inspiring people I've ever known. And
I mean, you're
Good.
welcome.
good folks.
Based. This is Rose Montoya right here. Very beautiful woman.
Take a little video. Hi, Mr. President. It is an honor. Trans rights are human rights.
You know, she's shaking the hands with Joe Biden, right on. Then I think right around here is when the offending part happens. I think we've got about, where is it? Okay. Let's continue on just a few more seconds. Getting Biden with the cell phone. It's cool. Seems like a lot of people dancing around, looking good. Right around now, we need to skip ahead here because that's where it is. But anyway, it's right around the 40-second mark. And even though this is on YouTube, I'm not going to actually show it here because I don't want to get in trouble. But you get the point. There's plenty of, if you want to go see it for yourself, just go on Google. And you can find the topless footage. And here's the thing about it, right? So, apparently in DC, it is not against the law to go topless. I didn't know that. But apparently that's a thing. It's perfectly legal, you know, to be topless in DC. And there were some FTM trans people who were going topless after they've already had top surgery, and they were showing off their surgery scars, right? You know, and so she was there with them. And here's the thing: is that they were not covering their nipples, right? But she was, and it's like, well, why? First off, you can go, why is everybody making such a big goddamn deal over this? I mean, because the chuds out there, the transphobe douchebags who like to say that trans women are not women, why are they losing their minds if a trans woman shows her nipples then, right? Here's the other thing. Rose Montoya didn't actually show her nipples. She was covering them with her hands in the video. You know, why would they be losing their minds? I mean, the thing is, if she's not a real woman, then she should be able to, you know, if she's not a real woman, then it shouldn't hurt if you see any nipples. And then if the FTM trans people that were next to her, If they're not real men, if they're still actually women, then that should be a big deal that they're showing their nipples, right? Kind of backwards there. Kind of doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, why are they going crazy over it? It's almost like, hey, trans women are actually women. Trans men are actually men. It's almost like that's true. And these MAGA assholes, these conservative fucking holier-than-thou big-headed douchebags, pieces of fucking shit, it's almost like they know that's true. Here's some reactions to this. Ben Shapiro, let's go ahead. Oh, see, he has it here on Twitter. I'm not going to show it, like I said, because I don't want to get my fucking shit canceled. But if you were to just scroll down here, you would see Rose Montoya with her hands covering her nipples. I have been reliably informed by the Twitterverse that Americans have fought and died by the hundreds of thousands so that this man could masquerade as a woman and bare his fake breasts on the White House lawn with Joe Biden celebrating our new religion. You notice how Shapiro here, who's so super offended over this woman that he's misgendering here, you know, because he's a religious conservative. He's so super offended over this, yet he retweeted the photo himself on his Twitter. Completely, yeah. I mean, if it's obscene, like you say, Ben Shapiro, how come you're spreading around obscene pics? How come you're spreading around obscene photos, huh? I just like how that fucking works out. Here's another one by Ben Shapiro. Let me just adjust this so that I know that oh, well, this is blurred out. I can show it if it's blurred out, right? I guess in this one he decided to blur it out. In the last one it wasn't. Even though, remember, her hands are covering the thing, but it's blurred. The Messenger. White House condemns disrespectful trans model for going topless at White House Pride event. Ben Shapiro. We, period, don't, period, believe, period, you, period. Like, he's so offended by this. Oh, he's so fucking offended. You know, bullshit. You know Ben Shapiro is fucking, like, archiving all of these pictures and putting them in the special folder. He's probably fucking printing them out and having them specially bound into a volume that he can use later on. That he can, like, store away in his, like, super huge giant pornography vault. It's like climate controlled and everything. Right next to the stack of like the last 50 years of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model edition. That's what he's doing this for. Such fucking bullshit. One more by Ben Shapiro here. Let's move this over. This one doesn't have any pictures. The perversity is the feature, not the bug, of radical gender ideology. Stop pretending that this sort of behavior is somehow extraneous to the central conceit. I love how they call it an ideology, quote unquote. What the fuck is the ideology behind trans rights? Exactly. What is it? That you're allowed to do whatever you want with your body? Is that the ideology? Because the thing is, trans people do not all follow the same political persuasion. That's not true at all. There are plenty of trans people who are conservative. Caitlyn Jenner, for example, trans woman, conservative, ran as a Republican for the governor of California, if you remember that. Blair White, super conservative, trans woman. You know, she's so incredibly conservative that she posts anti-trans shit. And she's like trans herself. Right? So no, apparently just being a trans woman, or a trans person in general, doesn't mean that you adhere to any kind of given ideology at all. It's not a religion. Right? Ben Shapiro is the one that actually does have an ideology. He's a religious conservative. He said it himself. This is the reason why he is against trans people and gay people and everybody on the LGBTQ flag there. He's against all of them because he's a religious conservative, because he is enforcing his ideology on everybody else. I just always love how it's like, let's always remember that, right? But why do they say it's an ideology? First off, they have a monolith enemy that they can stop. That's why they say it's an ideology, right? The second reason why they say it's an ideology is because then it buries the fact that trans rights are actually an extension of the First Amendment. When they say trans rights are human rights, yes, that's true. But under the law, under the United States Constitution, where do trans rights fall? They fall under the First Amendment. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right? What does that mean? That means you can dress. Freedom of expression means you can dress however you want. You can wear your hair however you want. You can put on whatever makeup you want. You can wear whatever clothes you want. You can get anything done to your body that you want, right? Up to and including gender reassignment surgery. Because it's an expression. It's an expression of your feeling. That falls under free speech. That means the government is not allowed to tell you how you are and how you are not allowed to express yourself. That includes the way you express your gender. They have to obscure it from that. So that's why they turn around and they say, oh, it's an ideology. Because if it was an ideology, then yes, you can make the case that, oh, we don't want it here. Oh, it's like communism, whatever. That means it's a choice, blah, 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 blah. And all this other shit. That way they can like legally discriminate against it because it's it's not a religion or whatever. It's not that means that they can like pass laws saying you're not allowed to do this. It's an ideology like terrorism, like radical jihadists or some shit like that. That's why they have to obscure this thing. They have to obscure this because if you take it for what it actually is, they have no legal basis for passing laws, to stop people from getting trans-affirming care. Right, they passing laws like preventing trans athletes from competing. There was a law like in I think it was Florida actually, where now it's not just trans teenagers who can't compete in sports. It's now adults in college. Colleges in Florida. I think that's what it was. I just saw it the other day. Colleges in Florida now have banned trans athletes from competing. So it's not just teenagers, right? At your school football team or whatever. Or your school wrestling coach. No. It's now adults who are over the age of 18 who are adults who are no longer allowed to do this shit. That's where it's going. Such full of fucking shit. Here's somebody named Carol Markowitz. No idea who this person is, but here's the same video. Again, if a Republican president befouled the White House. I like that choice of word there, befouled. The White House, like this, there would be a dozen think pieces from conservatives about how wrong it is. Where are the sane liberals calling the disgusting behavior out? Stop hiding under your beds. First off, no, there wouldn't be. If Donald Trump did this, they'd be all... They don't... let's not bullshit ourselves. If Donald Trump had a pride event while he was president, which he didn't, but if he did, and this happened, nobody would have said a goddamn word. In fact, people would be fucking happy. It's like, oh, hey, maybe they're like accepting or whatever. But here's the other thing. When you talk about befouling the White House or whatever, right? Remember when Putin was a guest at the White House and Donald Trump brought Putin into the Oval Office? Remember that? And you remember how like they basically took the notes from the translator and destroyed them because they didn't want anybody finding out what Donald Trump and Putin were talking about? How many conservatives objected to that shit? Which one of those is more befouling of the White House? A woman taking her top off and not even showing her nipples? Or like the arch enemy of the United States palling around with the president, hatching secret fucking plans that nobody even knows what the fuck they were saying? Get the fuck out of my face with this double standard bullshit. Here's everybody's favorite fucking backwards ass MAGA chud douchebag and wokeness. Really butthurt over a pride event. The West has fallen. I guess all it takes to destroy the West is just some rainbow flags and a couple of balloons, right? That's it. The end of civilization as we know it. Woman shows her boobs. End of civilization. I guess that's all it fucking takes, folks. It's so simple. It's so simple. It must be nice. It must be nice when you're a conservative that everybody they can just do your thinking for you. One more here. This is actually from Reddit. There's the picture there, but it's so small, I don't think anybody could object to that. Let's see. Let's move that over just a little. There we go. This is from a guy on Reddit. This would have gotten you thrown in jail just a few years ago. I promise you these behaviors will be the downfall of the Democratic Party. The downfall of the Democratic Party. First off, remember it is not illegal to show your nipples in Washington, D.C. So no, this woman would not have been thrown in jail just a few years ago. I mean, I guess if you're saying a few years ago, like 50 years ago, maybe. So no. Secondly, downfall of the Democratic Party. How so? I mean, it kind of seems to me that the exact opposite is what's really happening. Kind of seems to me that this woke shit doesn't seem to be working out too well for the Republicans. It's doing a lot to energize the base. Now, if you remember, let's go ahead and turn this shit off, right? Fuck these people. If you remember, Trump's approval rating never went below 30% until he left the White House. I think it was 29% on his, day after he finally left. But all through the Trump presidency, the approval rating was always usually hovering around 40 some odd percent. Right? It was usually right around 40, 42, something like that, but that's where Obama's was too. But it never got, even when it got all the way low, it never got below 33%, something like that, 35%. It would, even when it was its lowest. Why is that? Because that's the base. Those are the hardcore MAGA chud, conspirachud morons who harp on his every word, who treat him like he's a religious figure, like he's the son of man or some shit. Those are the people that he could get away with basically running a baby over, like shooting a baby in the face on live TV in the middle of the street, and they would say that it was like a deep fake or something. That's the base. And all of this woke shit seems to be doing really, motivating those people very well. And not so much everybody else. It doesn't seem to be doing very much for DeSantis. You know, it was great for DeSantis before he decided to run for president. Now it's not working out too well. Now DeSantis is, getting crushed. Doesn't seem to be working out too well for him. Doesn't seem to be working out too well for the Republican Party and their elections. They keep losing election after election after election. I mean, yeah, those midterms were horrible. They keep losing special elections. They're looking like they're going to lose another special election in Georgia now. So, no. It doesn't seem to be the downfall of the Democratic Party. It kind of seems like there's a backlash to it. So we'll see, folks. I mean, ultimately, what it really comes down to, especially this particular little news item, this little news nugget, it just kind of demonstrates that once again, like I said at the beginning, conservatives are, the one thing that all conservatives have in common is that they're extremely sexually repressed. Because what exactly happened here? A beautiful woman took her tits out. I don't see how anybody can complain about that. I mean, what's there to complain about? I mean, what? You don't like boobs? I love boobs. Sorry. I'm not even gay. I'm not even trans. She's not a woman that I would date. But I don't know. Boobs are actually kind of looking pretty nice. I think ultimately that's why the conservatives lose on these issues. And they always, whenever it comes to this morality shit, they're always so, eager to legislate their morality. And this is why, that's a losing proposition. People like to fuck. I'm sorry, but they do. People like having sex, right? People like being sexy. People like flirting. People like seeing sex in movies. People like masturbating, pornography, all that stuff. And this is why this shit always ultimately fails, because even all the people that stand so vehemently against this stuff, they also are human beings with sexual drives too. This is why, for example, the Deep South is the largest consumer of trans porn. The exact same people who stand against it, who rally against it, who pass laws against it, who raise money to fight it, are the ones who consume it. Because as a species, everybody's horny. That's the one thing that every single person on Earth shares. One thing that we all have in common is that we're all horny. Got a couple more things I want to talk about here before we call it a day. I'll keep these a little quick because we're already past an hour. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.